Hello, everybody, and welcome tonight. We're glad you're here to the Biblical Principles of Finance with Natalie Tilson. Natalie, thanks again for being here. You always bring great things to the table, and I hope you've had a great day today.
Well, I hope you have as well, Pastor Scott. Good to see you again.
We're moving into the summer season a little bit, not quite summer yet, but a lot of people thinking about vacations and things again, and finance is always it's always there. We all either going to bed, waking up. Finance is one of those things that's in our life every single day, almost every single minute. But there's some ways that we can plan so that we don't have to have so much stress and confusion over that. So I know we started some stuff in our last broadcast, and you can pick that up on our YouTube channel or go back on Facebook. We repost those. But give us a little update of what we did last time and sort of a part two.
Okay, well, last time, Scott, we talked about teaching financial management to children and things that were more specific to maybe preschool kids, even getting into that when they learn to say, I want.
Right.
And elementary school age children, probably younger than 12 years old. We taught them about the importance, of course, of tithing and taking on some responsibility of just doing some household chores and maybe giving them that little bit of allowance and allowing them to learn to manage their money, and just learn some biblical principles that we can start teaching them at that age.
That's great, and that's a good foundation because it's hard to start out as a young adult or an adult and just jump right into it, but the Bible tells us that we can start teaching our kids at a very young age, and that's a natural thing for them as they grow older.
Exactly. Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it.
That's great.
So tonight I really wanted to look more at teaching financial management to teens and to young adults.
Okay.
And as we talked about our last time, we've really not done a great job in teaching this in our school systems, and I think that we're starting to maybe see a little bit of the maybe some of the bad fruits of our labor in what's going on in our economy and just in our current world situation. So I'm hoping that maybe we can capture this new generation coming up and do a little bit of better job of teaching them how to manage money in their personal finances, and then perhaps that will extend on out, just into the culture.
Right.
So one thing that I want to encourage people to do with their teenagers is to make sure that your teen has a basic understanding of economics. And I know that economics is a class that, yes, it's required in our school systems. I'm not so sure how great of a job we're doing with that. Mm-hmm. And it may be wise to just talk with your teen about, hey, just some basic topics. I know right now that we're hearing a lot in the news about the debt ceiling and what's going on there. Bring this up around the table. Ask them, hey, what do you know about this? What are your thoughts about it?
That's right. Write out $1 trillion and see what that looks like.
Right. Ask them how many zeros that is and see if they actually know. So now is the time to make sure that they understand these topics and have an understanding of this, and it may require some work on the part of the parents. Parents may have to brush up on some of this, of what's going on, and take the time to teach it to your teen. Now's a great time in the summer if you feel that they've not received a really strong basic education in economics at school. Look into maybe a little online course or something, or some podcasts.
That's right.
There's all kinds of resources.
Dave Ramsey and people like that offer things.
Right.
Crown Financial offers a lot of free resources. You just have to apply yourself a little bit, but the resources are out there.
They are there, and encourage them to understand this. I'm not saying that they have to go into this as a field,
right,
but I believe that everyone would benefit in understanding this better. I would say with teenagers, one of the important things to do is to encourage them to get a job. And now's the best time to do that in the summertime. I understand that if school's going on and they have a lot of school activities and things like that. We certainly don't want to interfere with their education, their studies, homework, whatever.
I hear lifeguards are in great demand right now, and usually
Right.
the lifeguard season is while they're out of school a lot of times.
Exactly. So many places we see the signs, help
Yes.
wanted. So, encourage them to do that instead of just sitting around on the couch or playing the video games or, whatever the teenagers like to do.
Right.
During the summer, because as we know, there is honor in working, and our bodies were created by God for us to work.
That's right.
We are to be out doing something, not
Yes.
just sitting around. So now is a perfect time to get them in that mode of working and making some money.
That's important. I think it brings a lot of maturity. Chick-fil-A and some of these other businesses hire younger people and for that purpose, to try to disciple
Right.
them and help them. And I know I started working younger than a lot of my peers, but it gives you a lot more maturity faster, and you really get to appreciate the value of a dollar when you're starting to spend, when you're making that yourself.
That's exactly right. And one of the first things I would do when they start drawing that paycheck is to teach them the budgeting principles. And I know we've covered this in depth. I would encourage everybody, if they need to brush up on that, to go back and take a look at some of those principles. Just make sure that your teen understands exactly what a budget is.
Right.
And to learn the importance of starting those sinking funds, as we have talked about, with their goals. Maybe their goal is they want to purchase a car or something. Well, show them how to go about doing that the right way. Set aside a little money out of each paycheck, for that very purpose.
That's right.
And begin to teach them the basic biblical principles that we talk about as they earn that money now. Tithing. Teach them about tithing. Encourage them when they receive that. Take your 10% of your pay, whatever it might be. I don't care if it comes to, $10 or something.
That's
That's fine. It's the getting them in that understanding of my first 10% goes back to God, who has provided me with this opportunity.
That's right.
And so we need to make sure that they understand that. Teach them responsibility with their money and ownership. And a good way to do this is to choose something that they are responsible for, whether it's purchasing their own gas, or maybe it's they pay for their own insurance as they begin to drive, or just purchasing their own clothes. Just something that you don't want to, make sure that it drains them dry, but just something so that they understand, I have to work, I'm making money, I have a responsibility. If I want to, go on dates or whatever, I'm going to need to purchase my own gas in
That's
order
real
to
life.
do
And
that.
I shared with my boys as they were growing up, you can go out and buy a really, really nice car, and but you won't have enough money to take your date out to eat. Or you can get a nice car that gets you from point A to point B and have money to go get a burger sometime,
Exactly.
Yeah. So those are things you've got to think about. And we're training these young adults and teens for real life issues. And if they don't get this now at their age, then they can really get in financial hardships very, very quickly.
Exactly. And I would say to really discourage the use of credit cards. As they begin college, it is so easy for them to get in the habit of just swiping that plastic and getting what they want. And a lot of times I do not think that college-age kids realize the interest rates that are on these cards and the consequences that occur when they aren't making their payments timely, and the way that they can just really start stacking up that debt. And there kind of goes back to, talking about what's going on in our country right now. We cannot keep spending like there is no limit.
That's
and then acting like, well, I'll worry about that at a later date, or I'll just have all the fun I want to, and when I die, I'll leave the debt for somebody else to
And
have
I've
to
heard people say
contend
that,
with.
hey, I really appreciate you, and I'm going to leave you all my indebtedness, and it's like, that's more of a curse than it is a blessing.
Exactly, and that is certainly not the way that we as Christians
That's
should
right.
be
That's
stewarding
right.
the money that we have been given. And I would also say teach them to begin saving and possibly even investing. This is a good time to teach them about investing and how to grow money and how to basically be looking forward to some of the things for their future. Even begin to discuss retirement with them. I know that for a teenager, you say the word retirement,
Yeah.
and that's forever away.
Right.
But as we know, it comes quickly.
And you've showed us before, if you take just a little bit and put that back, how much it will accumulate over 20 or 30 years. And we all look back and say, "Oh, I wish I'd have done that
I
earlier."
wish I would have done
and put
that
just a
as
little
a
bit more
teen.
in there.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And the earlier you start, the much better it's going to be on the back end,
right.
and it will accumulate. And it's small amounts that really accumulate,
Right.
so you're not getting into your 50s and going, "Oh, I really wish."
Yes, that's right. That's right.
And I would say, to start with a realistic amount, say maybe 10% or something like that. So, 10% is a tithe, 10% of whatever that paycheck is, just set that aside for savings, watch it grow, and then, the rest to use to be responsible and keep some for, for fun.
Right.
We want to make sure that they're understanding that as they work and accumulate money, there is some fun that can be had.
That's right.
So we don't want to take away all their fun.
Mm-hmm.
And also I would say that it's important to teach teens to track their spending habits.
That's a biggie.
That's a very biggie.
Yeah.
We have to remember that, that we've heard this, I'm sure, that front part of that brain doesn't fully develop until somewhere in their 20s, so they don't always think through these things as they just spend. But teach them, it's important to go back and look, how did I spend my money? Was that a wise decision? What did I benefit from that? And think before they continue in those bad habits.
Very good point.
And also, I would say avoid student loans as we look at these college years, and just understand that, if a family has not saved up a 529, as we spoke about in the past, and now it's time for college, I would say as a family, decide how we're going to be paying for college. And it may be that a teen decides, okay, I'll help out here, work in a part-time job. Sometimes that's good, because when they work for that education instead of mom and dad paying for it, there's a sense of accomplishment there.
That's right. And I
real
think,
ownership.
too, even though there's added responsibility of the workload of having a job, it makes you a lot more efficient and learn how to use your time more wisely. And, sometimes it keeps you out of trouble.
I agree. I would also encourage teens to, visit the financial aid office of whatever college or university that you plan to attend. See if you qualify for financial aid, whether it's scholarships or grants or work-study programs, because there's a lot that's out there that I think goes untouched. And instead of, opt for that instead of going into debt that you're going to have this, and you're kind of starting out in the hole when you get out of college trying to pay off these student loans. But finally, Scott, I would say that if it's determined that a student loan is absolutely necessary and the only option, I would encourage them to pay that off quickly, just as quick as they can, not to get out of college and, get another loan for the car or the house or whatever, but get that paid off quickly, because as we know from Proverbs 22:7, the rich rules over the poor and the borrower is servant to the lender. And we certainly don't want these teens to find themselves in that kind of situation when they first start out.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. So take a little time, do a little bit of planning, a little bit of homework. Even the financial aid office, you can contact them, and you'll see what hoops you have to jump through. And there are some, but many times it's well worth the effort if you're able to get that. But there's deadlines that you have to look at in all those things. Listen, you can do this. The Bible is full of all sorts of truths in there about how you can manage your finances. And when we apply the biblical principles of finances to our life, it's going to make you a person who can live not as a slave to the lender. And this will free you up to do ministry and to live the way that God's created you to do that. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Natalie.
Thank you, Scott.
God bless.